If you think you can't fight the nation's #1 killer, Carolina People will show you how you can. Coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on the 13th annual American Heart Walk to be held October 16th at Broadway at the Beach. And we're visiting with Tammy Eaves, the Senior Area Director for the American Heart Association. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for getting in. It is so great to get you in the studio, and so exciting to think we're about 10 weeks away now from the 13th Annual American Heart Walk to raise $200,000 to fight heart disease and stroke. It's a big event coming up.
It's one of the largest events, and certainly we hope to be the largest walk we've ever had.
Even more exciting, Tammy, a big move this year.
Right.
Been kicking off from the beach, the pavilion area for 12 years now to be moving to Broadway at the Beach. What prompted that move?
Well, we had some folks who had some issues with walking on the beach. A lot of the senior citizens have difficulty walking. The sand is soft. Last year, of course, we did have some bad weather. It rained a little bit last year, but the tide was extremely high. We had about 2,500 walkers out there, and really they had to wait their turn to get on the beach because the tide was so high there wasn't really enough beach for them to walk. We also have families that bring their kids, some of them in strollers, and you know, that's an issue, pushing a stroller on sand, soft sand. So those were some of the things that helped us to make the decision to try something new. Margaritaville is a sponsor of the event, and of course they're new to our area, and they've had 3-hour waits, I think 24 hours a day since they opened. So we knew that that would be a big draw. They asked us to have it at Broadway and to start and finish the walk at Margaritaville. And of course, you know, that's a big push right now. Everybody is, the locals, I think they've waited to go to Margaritaville. They'll probably be going in late September. Hopefully, if they haven't been out before the walk, they'll come out on October 16th for their grand viewing of Margaritaville.
So the walk will go through, and I think next door, virtually next door, Ripley's Aquarium. You'll roll through there, and then around the entire 300-acre complex.
That's correct. That's correct. We're still working on all of the logistics. But, you know, we're trying to make the walk route as creative as possible. I think walking through Ripley's would certainly enhance things. It'll certainly be a lot of different things to look at as opposed to walking on the beach and you have, you know, pretty much the same scenery the whole time. There's also piped-in music that'll be playing throughout the park, and restrooms. You know, that's a big issue with some folks because we haven't had restrooms in the past.
That's right. That's a very important point. And how exciting, a no-brainer, not only for Broadway at the Beach, but for Ripley's to open up that door, the opportunity to get 2,000, 2,500 folks walking through their facility on a Saturday early morning before the crowds would normally be pouring in anyway. And for Broadway at the Beach, how exciting for them.
Yes. And it's a big day that day at Broadway. It's their annual Arts and Crafts Festival, so they will actually be having some arts and crafts vendors throughout the Broadway at the Beach establishment that day. And a Chili Fest will be going on in the Celebrity Square area that day. And that evening there will be a fireworks display, and we all know how many folks turn out for the 4th of July at Broadway at the Beach for fireworks, and I think that'll be one of the last fireworks displays of the season. So we're hoping for a large turnout that day. Margaritaville is going to give us 10% of all the proceeds for everything sold on October 16th.
For the whole day?
For the whole day.
Oh, come on.
The whole day.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So we hope to drive traffic into Margaritaville to see their beautiful establishment, have some great food, and we get 10% of the proceeds. 10%
of their sales, October 16th at Margaritaville, from sign on to sign off. Daybreak to the end of the night.
2 or 3 a.m., something like that.
How exciting.
Very exciting.
That is big. That's a big opportunity.
Right. It is.
Fighting heart disease and stroke. Tammy, if a viewer has to take off now to run to work, what's the best number to reach you, as well as maybe a website to learn more about the Heart Walk?
The number is 626-3939. Of course, the area code for those that may not be in Myrtle Beach is 843-626-3939.
Right.
And the website is heartwalk.conterra.org. And then when they put that in, there'll be a list of different walks to choose from. Just choose the Myrtle Beach walk.
Okay, great.
And some of your viewers who may not live in Myrtle Beach, they may want to come down for the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Spend the weekend there at the hotels all around Broadway.
All around Broadway. And it's a whole day event really on Saturday. And certainly there's lots of nice restaurants and shopping for the whole weekend.
That just made me think we probably ought to contact, or the Heart Association ought to contact all the area hotels, see if they'd give a discount to folks coming in from the PD or southeastern North Carolina to stay at those area hotels Friday night, to get up early in the morning, to get out there and to be able to walk around Broadway the Beach. You got the Courtyard at Marriott, of course the Hampton Inn, Broadway the Beach, right next door to Margaritaville. They ought to fill that place up.
That's right. That's right.
That'd be a huge night for them, Friday, October 15th, to be piled in there getting ready for the walk the next morning.
That's right. And that's a beautiful facility, too. Hampton Inn, right next door. And we'll talk to those folks and see what we can...
Get on the phone with them after the interview this morning.
That's right. We'll do that.
Tammy, what about real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area, for viewers who may not have seen you here or visited with you in the Waccamaw Division?
Yes, I grew up in Aner. I actually was born in Myrtle Beach at the old Ocean View Hospital, and it's very rare to find somebody who can say they were born in Myrtle Beach, who grew up in Aner, which is about 30 miles away, and after graduating from college, moved to Myrtle Beach and been here ever since.
How exciting, Tammy. Now, have you always been with the American Heart Association?
I've been with the American Heart Association for 15 years. Just celebrated my 15th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And was Coastal Federal for about 6 years prior to being with the American Heart Association.
Okay, so you have been in the Horry County community and serving the greater community here for more than 2 decades now.
Right.
How exciting, right out of high school or kindergarten. I mean, my gal, Tammy.
Yeah, don't make me feel too old.
Yeah, that's right, and kept your youth very well. You and Ronnie and Brooke, all of y'all. What about the Heart Walk? What would prompt someone to come in that day to be there if they've never been involved in a Heart Walk in the past?
Well, several things. One thing may be that you've had a family member that's been affected by heart disease, either someone that you've lost or someone that has survived, and you really want to do something for the American Heart Association in honor of or in tribute to someone that you know. It could be a relative, could be someone you've worked with or a neighbor. It's always a great thing, I think, to pay tribute to someone. And so that could be one thing that would inspire people to come out and walk. People that are into walking, I mean, we all see folks who walk each and every day for exercise. And certainly walking is the best form of cardiovascular exercise there is. The number one thing to do for really keeping your heart healthy and preventing heart disease is to get out and walk every day.
Get out and walk, right?
That's right. So, so those are 2 good reasons. Third reason may be your company's participating and you want to feel a part of a team. And they ask you, and it's a great thing to have 50, 100 people from the same company, the same church, the same neighborhood to come out and work together and do something for a good cause and be a part of a team.
You had your big kickoff luncheon last Tuesday at Margaritaville. Tons of community leaders in Horry and Georgetown County and from other areas. There were in, of course, your co-chairs, Pat Al and Tony Cox, really getting the crew excited, as well as some of the other volunteers, Susan Mungo from Santee Cooper, and so many folks who spoke that day about putting teams together. You used the word teams, Tammy. How large or how small can a team be, and what are some of the minimum goals they need to be shooting for? How do you all assure that we're going to really raise the funds, $200,000?
Right. Well, teams can be as large or as small as a company is. If you have a company that has 10 employees, of course, you could have all 10, but 9 times out of 10, all 10 people would not participate. If you had 5 of those employees that wanted to participate, that could be a team. If you had 1 employee, that could be a team.
So
And, of course, we want to reach those larger companies. Santee Cooper is a perfect example. They have branches and locations throughout Horry and Georgetown counties, and they formed teams last year and this year and competed from their different branches. Their Garner-Lacey branch has 300 employees, and then they had the North Myrtle Beach area that had 30 employees. Well, when they competed to see who could raise the most money, everybody thought the Garner-Lacey branch would win, but that he didn't. The North Myrtle Beach with 30 employees actually beat the team with 300 employees. So, you know, it depends on the team and how motivated they get and the different types of things they can do to do fundraising. But again, you know, companies can really just form teams with their employees, but we really want them to invite other folks. For example, invite family, the whole family, you know, spouse, the children, you know, bring everybody out, grandma, grandpa, to come out and walk. And even some of the radio stations, TV stations, they pumped it on the air. If you want to be a part of the Fox 43 team, you know, call in and, you know, come walk with us, and we'll have a T-shirt or whatever. And so you don't have to just limit yourself to your employee base. You can reach out in the community, reach out in your church, those kinds of things.
I'm so glad you mentioned a co-op like Santee Cooper. You've got huge support this year from Horry Telephone Cooperative. Obviously, Pat Owl at the helm of Horry Electric Cooperative, and their interest at really making this a big event this year and to get absolutely active. To see other big companies like Burroughs and Chapin and their ability to help the move over to Broadway at the Beach, Tony Cox over there, as well as Jim Wiseman, the sponsorship chairman, and the excitement of getting him on the telephone, pounding calls in to let folks know what they can do in corporate donations and otherwise to drive home that number, as well as so many others, Rebecca Fagan and others out there at Broadway who want to make this a big, big success. It's amazing to see the commitment of so many. Tammy, how do you go about recruiting volunteers to A, get involved, and B, to get out to walk?
Well, we start with the top of the organizational chart by getting 2 co-chairs, and we try to get co-chairs, one from Myrtle Beach and one from Conway, because it's difficult for folks in Myrtle Beach to always recruit people from Conway. We have a perfect mix this year with having Tony Cox, you know, from Burroughs and Chapin, and Pat Owl from Conway, and he's with Horry Electric. We always try to get a CEO, a president, or senior level manager because we know that they can delegate, and it takes a lot of delegation, a lot of recruitment. You know, if you have someone that's a clerical position called CEO, they're probably not going to get them on the phone. But if you have CEO to CEO, they probably play golf and you know, do a lot of things like that together. So that does help. And Horry Electric right now and Horry Telephone have a sort of a competition going on between the two. And I think Pat wants to make sure that Horry Electric beats Horry Telephone since he's at the chair. But right now, Horry Telephone has them beat by over 1,000. I think Horry Telephone's about $6,300, and Horry Electric's about $5,100. And you know, the campaign's very young, so so I expect really great big things to come out of those 2 teams. But you really get the 2 chairs, and then we get industry leaders from different industries. For example, have an industry leader in charge of banking, one in charge of manufacturing, one in charge of restaurants, tourism, you know, different areas. And we have about 15 different areas where we have an industry leader. And it's that industry leader's responsibility to recruit 10 teams that are within that industry. So, you know, if you got 15 recruiting 10, that gives you 150 teams right there. And then we ask each team to raise a minimum of $1,000 and each walker to raise a minimum of $100. Now, that doesn't always happen, but if they have that goal, they'll at least strive for that. And then we have incentives for the walkers. If they raise $100, they get a T-shirt, and all of our sponsors are on the back of the T-shirt, a nice, good-looking T-shirt. And we have all kinds of prizes. The top walker can win $1,000 cash. Cash, and that's $1,000. And we have a sponsor for that, locally owned and operated.com, and very fortunate to have them sponsor, because if they were not doing that, we could not offer $1,000 cash.
It would be tough for the Heart Association to write a check, but you got a sponsor just to cut a direct check to whoever the top cash fundraiser is.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. Locally owned and operated.com. So we're very fortunate to have that. And, you know, we have a cruise to the Bahamas. We have a weekend at Charleston at the Mills House and various other prizes, but nothing motivates people like cash.
I mean, what would a viewer potentially have to raise to be? I mean, what have been your top fundraisers, let's say the last couple of years, what have the top fundraisers been to have gone? And I know last year you had $1,000 and $500 cash as the top two prizes. This year just $1,000. But I mean, what's going to be that? What's going to be the number that someone has to shoot for?
Well, last year Rhea Dane was our top walker, and she raised about $3,300. So $3,300. She's with Conway Medical Center.
Right.
And Jennifer Elman-Shawley raised $3,100, so $3,100. She's with Cardiology Gastroenterology Associates of Myrtle Beach. So for the past couple of years, we've had somebody hit the $3,000 mark. Not much more than $3,300, $3,500, but somewhere in that range is probably going to be where the top walkers will fall. I think our top 10 walkers last year, we didn't have anybody in the top 10 that was below $1,500. So they ranged from about $1,500 to $3,300 last year. Right,
but obviously that push to get $1,000 cash just as a thank you for helping out the American Heart Association, essentially. So pushing over $3,500 to be a real goal that someone would need to have. What are some of the ways that an individual who's not on a team, who wants to do something like Rhea or Jennifer there, who wants to get that cash prize, what are some ways for them?
Well, we have walkers that walk as individuals. They don't work, or maybe they're retired here. One in particular is Ansel Johnson from my hometown of Aner. He raises over $2,000 each and every year. And he really has a list of folks who donate to him each year and goes around to them every year and says, it's that time, I'm collecting for the Heart Association. So he has a list of folks who he hits up for $10, $25, $50. And they could be the folks he buys his tires from, his gas station that he visits, restaurants that he visits frequently, dry cleaners. Hit the people that you support. If you're supporting people on an annual basis, as most of us are, when you ask them for a $25, $50 donation that's tax deductible to the American Heart Association, they will support you as well. So that's really how he does it. Of course, in Aner, they have the Aner Hoedown each year in September. He actually sets up a booth and hits everybody, and I think the whole town turns out for it. So he hits everybody on that day to raise money. But then we've got a few other individuals that maybe they have had a heart attack and they're a survivor, and so they're motivated to do it as well. The website that we talked about earlier, you can go online and set up an email page just for you, a website page just for you, and then you can email all your friends. If you have 200 emails in your personal contacts folder, you can just actually there's a canned prepared email in there that's said, hi, I'm walking for the American Heart Association, and you fill in a couple of things. It may be that hey, that I'm a survivor, or we're going to walk in tribute to grandmother who died 5 years ago from heart disease. Email that out to family and friends all over the United States, and they can make a donation to you online. Pull out a credit card, make a donation online to you, and you raise money that way without even seeing them face to face or talking by phone.
And even if a viewer felt uncomfortable or weird about doing something online, at least getting that email. They can get that email, and on there I'm sure it's phone numbers or otherwise, or they can add a phone number to make sure and keep them up to date. And of course, you talk about Ansel hitting up folks in the community, which is a great idea. There's also things with teams where the teams can contact their vendors.
That's right.
The folks that do a lot of business with them and say, hey guys, now's a good time to cut a check to the American Heart Association for this year's Heart Walk. Whether you're here in the PD or southeastern North Carolina, there's walks going on, but if you can be down here for the October 16th walk at Broadway the Beach, it's a big one. Those are called vendor sponsorships, I believe.
That's right. And all companies have vendors that they do business with on a regular basis, whether it's the folks who might prepare their checks. A lot of folks use companies for that. They have accountants. They buy office supplies, all kinds of things. And if you're doing an annual basis, doing a lot of business with a company, and you ask them to make a donation to the Heart Association, they're going to do it the majority of the time.
Right, absolutely.
So vendor sponsorship's a big one. We've had teams, not necessarily here in Horry County, but last year Blue Cross Blue Shield raised over $100,000 in Columbia, South Carolina, and the majority of that was raised through vendor sponsorship. So there are lots of of opportunities for folks to raise big money through vendor sponsorships.
That's a great point. Can our team, let's say the Ori Electric Co-op team, can they get folks who aren't employees of Ori Electric Co-op to be on their team, family members
Sure.
or church members
Sure,
that would wrap around to drive those team numbers through the roof so that Pat will overtake the folks at HTC and Santee Cooper?
Yes, they certainly can, and we hope that they will do that. We don't want them to limit themselves to their employee base.
Right, right. It is so great to get in that competitive motion,
Right.
all for a good cause, Tammy.
Right, it is. And last year, Graham Edwards chaired the event, and Santee Cooper raised $23,000.
Wow.
So I think there's a challenge going on between Santee Cooper and Ori Electric, although Santee Cooper is much larger than Ori Electric. But
Right.
I'm sure Pat would love to take over that first place team and make more than $23,000 this
Oh,
year.
yeah. Let's talk, Tammy, we got 5 minutes. Let's
Okay.
talk about some quick wraparound activities
Okay.
that some of those teams could do to raise funds. If a viewer's watching for the first time or they couldn't make the kickoff luncheon last Tuesday at Margaritaville, what are some of the things that they could do to raise some funds? Or as an individual, like Rhea and Jennifer, what are some of the things they could do to raise funds?
There's all types of things. One of the things that they can do is sell hearts, and these are the hearts that are available, and
Right.
they are
Just
$1 a
hold
piece.
on. Yeah.
And companies sell those for $1 a piece. They can be displayed on the walls at your company, or if you're walking for, say, a church, they can be displayed there. We also have heartstrings. Heartstrings are $10 a piece, and they are opportunities for folks to have a heart with the name written, name of survivor or in tribute of somebody written on them and hung up at the walk site on October 16th. So they're a little bit more substantial heart. But there's also a chance for every donor to win prizes. Some of the prizes range from $100 cash to a weekend in Myrtle Beach. There's about 20 different prizes, so they have an opportunity to win something. And we do find that when you have an opportunity to win something, that does generate a little bit more income than just buying the heart. Lots of teams sell those. We have some teams that get real creative. The city of Myrtle Beach is having a golf tournament at Whispering Pines, and they do that every year, and that's one of the ways that they can get some of the folks that work for the city who may not come out and walk, but they play golf. So, they'll pay the $50 and play golf on that day. Ori Electric is doing some challenges within their company. I think they've got a couple of things that were donated. One's a rifle and a couple of other things, and they're selling tickets for opportunities to win some of those things. We have teams that have car washes, teams that have bake sales. One team went out and bought a bunch of peaches from one of the peach groves here in South Carolina, sold the peaches for 50 cents a piece and made about $800 just from selling peaches, which that's a great opportunity too.
Yeah.
You can get real creative, do different things. We had a team last year that did a talent show, and they're trying to put that together again this year, and that was cardiology, gastroenterology. They had the doctors singing, playing guitar, things like that, and invited all the patients to come and pay $10 to watch their doctor get up on stage and do something, perform. Santee Cooper is going to have a fashion show.
Right.
They're working with the Palace. We're hoping to have the fashion show at the Palace and using some survivors in it to model, different attire, and maybe even having some celebrities and certainly having some employees from Santee Cooper of all ages and selling tickets to it to be one of their big fundraising activities. So we have all kinds of ways that people can do that. A couple of other things to raise larger amounts of money are trail marker signs. Our trail marker signs are $250 per sign, and that's when a business wants to be a sponsor. We put their name on a nice sign that's professionally made, and it'll have a tip about heart disease. Something about some kind of tip that prevents heart disease, and it'll say sponsored by locally owned and operated.com or whoever the company may be. And those will be placed throughout Broadway at the beach along the walking trail, so they'll be highly visible that day. Then we also have a program book that will be distributed that day, and you can buy ad pages in the program book. Business card size ads, $100. Full page ads, $750.
Right.
So those are just some ways that teams and as well as individuals can raise some additional income.
There's so many ways. You highlighted some the other day at the luncheon, the selling teddy bears, the OPI nail polish,
Right.
all these things. They can call your office,
Right.
626-3939, catch either you or Michelle or Janine, whoever's there,
Right.
to be able to learn a little more about that or to come up with some other good ideas. I'm sure y'all can brainstorm, or you could fax them something or send them something in the mail that comes up with tons of ideas.
Right, right. There's all kinds of ways they can do it.
What gets you so excited when you wake up in the morning, Tammy, knowing for 15 years? Is it helping to fight heart disease and stroke, or is it constantly getting out in the community and meeting folks who've been impacted by heart disease and stroke? What keeps you going and so actively supporting and working for the American Heart Association?
It's a combination of both. Heart disease definitely affects my family. My grandfather died when he was 42 from a heart attack. All of my aunts and uncles, grandparents have died very early from heart disease. So it certainly has affected my life. And I meet people every day that's been affected by heart disease, young and old, and all ages in the middle. So you know that's a #1 killer, and we all need to work together to fight fight and raise money for heart disease so that it will not continue to be the #1 killer for the next 100 years as it has been for the past 100.
You got it. Tammy, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Tammy Eaves coming up next. The event's the 13th annual American Heart Walk and Fall Fitness Festival. The place, Broadway at the Beach. The date is Saturday, October 16th. Make it a weekend. Come in on Friday night. If you're coming in from Lumberton, Laurinburg, Red Springs, make it a weekend. You can get in, get up in the morning, get out there. Registration starts at 9. The walk starts at 10. Walk around the entire complex. It'll be a big day. The phone number's 843-626-3939. A team can be 1. It can be 100. Get your company. At least, if you can't be there on Saturday, October 16th, you can make a donation.